Hi, everyone. Good morning, good day, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are tuning in from. Happy Friday or Saturday morning. I wanted to hop on here and do a little bit of a spontaneous workshop with you around the importance of language, the way that you talk to yourself, and overall communication. So I'm just going to give it a couple of seconds to make sure that I am in fact live and just to give everyone a chance to roll on in spontaneously. So give me 1 second while I check my text setup. And if you are here, please feel free to start sending me comments, ask questions. Let me know how your day is going so far. Okay. Okay. 1 second, everybody. Just making sure I am here. Let me know if you can see me, hear me. Okay. And we should be up and running in just a second. Perfect. Okay. All right, so I can't see any comments at the moment. So if you're here, just drop me a sunshine emoji, a smiley face, anything at all, just so I can make sure we are up and running perfectly. Okay, got it. Perfect. Okay. All right. So today I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit more about the importance of your language and specifically the language that you're using with yourself. A lot of the individuals and the clients that I work with really are either in a leadership position currently or they're on track to get one within the next 6 to 12 months or so, right? So it's individuals who are really aspiring for these leadership positions. And the thing that I've noticed, and you can let me know if you've noticed this as well, is that the types of skills that are required from a leader in a leadership position aren't taught. So many people are promoted based on a certain skill set they had in the role. And then they quickly come to realize that leading a team, managing colleagues, understanding how to transition from being a peer on the same level to all of a sudden being in a hierarchy above everyone else, giving them feedback, giving them instructions, telling them what to do becomes very, very difficult. So, without getting into the nitty gritty skill set itself, today we're going to keep it a little bit more high level for you. And I hope you have a few breakthroughs that will really help you mull it over the weekend and then come back to work next week with a new attitude, for lack of a better word. Okay. So, when it comes to language, let's start with the big picture context for you guys. When it comes to language, we are taught language at a very young age from arguably from birth you hear language, and it doesn't matter where you are born in the world. It doesn't matter whether you are with your biological family, whether you're adopted, whether you move to a whole new country or culture. Whatever language you hear, that is the language that you yourself adopt. And the very interesting and beautiful thing about language is that it shapes the way that you see the world. In simple terms, the language that you use, the language of um, your culture, so whether that's like English or Arabic or Russian or French or something else, the types of words that they have completely changes the way that you see reality. So let me give you an easy example. I'm in Canada. Right now, we have had about three back to back snowstorms with over 2 meters of snow, ginormous snowbanks. Snow is not a surprise to us. However, we have about a handful of ways to describe snow. I could say there's snow, wet snow, slush, flurries. There's not that many terms to describe snow. So then arguably snow is not very significant to us. It's not a very big part of our language. If we then take something like the Inuit individuals, their language has over 50 ways to describe snow. Arguably, it has a lot more, but 50 known ways to describe snow because it's so much more impactful and significant and meaningful in their culture. And so that's a very, very basic example. But what I want you to take away from that is that quite literally, there's research to show that the way you are taught to speak shapes the way that you then think. There's some research with different cultures that shows the way that you speak about time. So, whether time is linear, whether time is not linear, whether it's quite significant or not, the way that you are taught to speak about time changes the way that you think about time. Okay. So, backing up for a second, you start being taught a specific way to speak from birth. By the time you're, 1 to 2, you're picking up words, starting to imitate them, learning the language. And it's a beautiful process. There's nothing wrong with that. But it is molding the way that you think from childhood. And so, how many individuals in childhood ever stopped to really question what they're being taught, to really question how they're being spoken to question the words that your teachers, your friends, your peers, your parents are using to describe you? Most people don't. Most people just accept, or most kids, I should say, accept what they are taught as the way that the world is. And this fundamentally shapes the way that you see the world as you grow up and into adulthood. So let's say you were a child and you had parents who were busy. Maybe they were working, maybe they were very stressed out and they couldn't spend a lot of time with you. It seems like a very common thing that occurs. But what we don't realize is we start to normalize the language that they use. We start to normalize the way that we are spoken to, right? So if someone is always saying, I don't have time for this, I don't have time for this, I'm so busy, I don't have time for this, what do we start to learn? Time is very limited. We don't have time. We have to pick and choose, right? So that we start to see the world in a completely different way based on a simple phrase that we were repeated over and over and over again. Okay. And so this happens for years and years, all through childhood, all through adolescence, and then we hit adulthood. And for many people, they reach a point where they begin to experience, you may call it cognitive dissonance, you may call it a midlife crisis, you may call it an awakening, whatever term you want to use, the process is the same, where all of a sudden there's this awareness of everything that I've been taught up until now isn't really helping me get to where I want to be. So, this is where the leadership piece comes in. The way that you speak to yourself, right? The way that you've been taught to think about the world, you then adopt it and start to speak to yourself a very specific way. That is then shaping your entire view of your reality, your view of what is possible for you and for others. And more importantly, it starts to shape the way that you act in the world. So in the morning, what do? When we wake up, we start talking to ourselves. We start that monologue, either positive or negative. We'll leave that to the side for now, but we start that monologue and we think to ourselves all day long. And you might have conversations with others. You might go to work. You might work from home. You might run into your children's school teacher, whoever it is. At the end of the day, from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to sleep, you are talking to yourself over and over and over. Now, there's some research to suggest we have about 60,000 thoughts a day, give or take on average. If you're an overthinker, it's probably a lot more. If you are satisfied with your life, kudos to you. Maybe it's a little bit less. But let's say we say 40,000 thoughts a day, just to be conservative. There's also research to suggest that the majority of the things people think about are a repetition of the things that they thought before, and that they're negative. Now, this is really, really important to understand because most of our thinking, again, it becomes automatic. It starts to happen on autopilot. So you wake up, oh, this again. Oh, another day. Oh, going to work again. Snow, the Canadian, snow, traffic, it's cold. And so you are quite literally what we would call in psychology priming yourself. You are sort of activating negativity without realizing so that the rest of the things you see are in line with what you primed yourself to think. So if you are thinking negative things right from the beginning of the day, you're just going to pick out the negative things through your day. Okay. So without going too deep into psychology and neuroscience, in our brain, we have something called the reticular activating system, the RAS. And you can think of that as a magnifying glass in your brain that looks for things that you want to see in reality. So the best example of this that people love to use is, have you ever thought about buying a new car? Right? For me, I would like, let's say I want an SUV, but I want it wrapped in like a nice dark green color. How often do you see an SUV wrapped in a dark green color? Like, never, right? For most people. And yet, as soon as you start thinking about it and start saying to yourself, oh, this is a thing that I would like, the reticular activating system, the magnifying part of your brain, starts looking for that everywhere. So then, guess what happens? I'm driving in my car and I see an SUV that's wrapped in green. Wow, how strange, right? Maybe you thought about buying the new iPhone, and all of a sudden, all you see is everyone with a new iPhone, or those YouTube unboxing videos, right? Like, your brain is your friend, and your brain is trying to help you find evidence for the things that you want to believe. Okay? Let me try and say that again. Whatever you believe, your brain is trying to help you find it. Your brain is trying to help you find examples of the things that you believe to show you that what you believe is true. So, going back to language, if you are constantly thinking negatively, if you are talking to yourself in a way that is negative and you're repeating that day after day after day, your brain, being your friend, is helping you find examples in your life that are negative day after day after day. And so, what ends up happening? You start to think that you're accurate, that what's a nice way to put it? That you are seeing your life exactly as it is, be it negative, right? You're finding evidence to support the beliefs that you have. Therefore, you think that your beliefs are true, right? Okay. Let me know if this is making sense. If this is resonating. Okay. So, why is that so important? Okay. Let me give you one more piece of the puzzle and then we'll dive into the leadership piece. So, the way that you talk to yourself, right? The way that you think is a reflection of your belief system, right? Your belief system, your beliefs, your individual beliefs are the things that really trigger the emotions that you're experiencing. So if I believe that I am not a good public speaker, then when I have an opportunity to public speak, it's going to trigger anxiety. It's going to trigger stress. It's going to trigger the desire or the urge to run away and not do it and to end the live stream and, like, God forbid I do it because I believe I'm not good at it. Right? So when I'm experiencing this negative emotion, the emotions that you're experiencing, right? Because it's a cycle. So it starts with your beliefs, it leads to the emotion that you're experiencing. This emotion then sort of activates the actions that you choose to take or not take, right? So if I believe I'm a terrible public speaker, there's an opportunity for me to speak in public, I'm then triggered with a negative emotion like stress and anxiety. Well, this negative emotion, this anxiety, is then going to lead me to either run away and not take the opportunity, which is the negative of it, like not doing something, or it's going to lead me to try public speaking, but the entire time feeling super nervous and negative and anxious and doing a terrible job at it. Okay? So your belief influences your feelings influences the actions that you take or that you choose not to take intentionally. The actions that you take lead to the outcomes that you experience. So if I choose to run away from a public speaking opportunity, the outcome is that I don't have this experience. Maybe I've hurt my reputation. Maybe my credibility has gone down. Maybe instead my reputation is now someone who is a terrible speaker, right? Like there's an outcome based on the action that you took. And really, the catch is that whatever outcome you get is then reinforcing that initial belief. So, for most people, we are cycling through this belief to feelings to actions to outcomes to beliefs to feelings to actions to outcomes all day long. And we are seeing what we want to see. And so, where language comes in is that really you are speaking these things into existence, right? If I'm telling myself from the moment I wake up, today is going to suck. I hate the snow. Oh my gosh, there's a meeting at work. I am so anxious for it. I just wish it was canceled. Today's going to be terrible. Well, that is then leading me to have these negative feelings. That is then leading me to act negatively, even without realizing. That's then leading me to have a very terrible day that could have been avoided. Okay? Let me know if this is resonating with you because this is a cycle that all of us go through. Rightly or wrongly, it's there. And so when you understand that this is the cycle that you are taking yourself through every day for everything over and 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 over, do you get my point? That's when you can then be intentional with breaking that cycle, starting with the language that you choose to use. Okay. As I'm sure most of you know, breaking a habit is very hard. It just is. Breaking a habit is extremely hard. Part of it is because you have ingrained this behavior into yourself so deeply that it happens subconsciously, it happens automatically, which makes it a habit. Part of it is that because you have to rewire your brain to sort of disconnect from the behavior that has become a habit and instead create this new pathway of neurons to create this new habit. So you're doing two processes at the same time when you're trying to break a habit, and it's extremely hard, and that's okay. So where language comes in is that language, you can think of it as like the glue, or I'm blanking on the word, but when people build a house and they put the brick by brick and then they put the thing in between to make the bricks stick together, your language is that. Your language is putting the pieces together in your life and making them stick. So if you are using language with yourself that is a bit more on the negative side, that is the same language that you are going to use with others. Okay? Because you see, when you speak to yourself negatively, whether that's poor self-esteem, whether that's a lack of confidence, whether that is, a lack of a belief in something, regardless, if you're speaking to yourself negatively, it's very hard to speak to others positively. Okay? Because your words are the windows to your subconscious mind. Your words are a reflection of what you actually think and what you actually believe. So if you believe things that are more negative, that are not helping you, that are not propelling you forward, that will come through in your language. That will come through in how you're feeling. Okay. So your language is the glue holding everything together. If anyone knows the word of that material holding bricks together, please let me know. It's going to drive me crazy until I can Google it. Okay, so what's the point of this? The point of this is that you need to start paying attention to the language that you are using quite literally throughout the day with yourself when you're thinking, when you're talking to yourself. Because when you can change that small thing, it changes everything else. Okay. So for my friends who are looking to become leaders, who are looking to take on new roles in their companies, who are looking to perhaps feel more confident, more credible, more like the expert that they know that they are, but that they can't quite reflect to others. When you are looking to sort of increase your own self-worth, your own confidence, it starts with the language that you're using with yourself. Okay. So let me give you an example. Going back to when you wake up, start paying attention to what your thoughts are as soon as you wake up. And if you can switch it to something more positive, like, hey, today's Friday. I'm happy it's Friday. Just that shift alone, rather than, oh, it's Friday and I have meetings and there's snow and it's like -20 and there's going to be traffic because everyone leaves home. Everyone leaves work to go home early on Friday. Like, do you see how you're spiraling negatively already? Versus if you can just start with a simple thing of, hey, it's Friday. It's going to be a good day. It's Friday. At least I don't have to go to work tomorrow on Saturday, right? It's Friday. It's going to be a good day. Start small, because when you can start speaking positively to yourself, it changes your perception of reality. It changes your belief system. Your belief system, again, is going to change how you feel. So a situation like public speaking, if before you were constantly telling yourself, hey, I suck at public speaking, I'm so nervous, I don't want to ever public speak, God forbid that they pick on me during this meeting because I'm not ready and my palms are sweating. And if you just change that alone and you can start saying, you know what, my ideas are pretty good. And that coworker, they took like 3 minutes to answer a question because they rambled. But then everyone kind of liked their answer and it sparked a conversation. If you can start looking for those positive moments, it will completely transform the way that you think about yourself and your life and your own ability. So then you're going to sit there and the meeting's coming up on Friday and you're going to say, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll try sharing something today. Maybe I'll share my perspective. Maybe I'll share my idea that I've been thinking about for a few weeks, but I've been too scared to try. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to do that because your beliefs shape your emotions, which influence your actions. So then you're going to actually speak up in that meeting. And odds are it'll be fine. They might implement your idea, they may not, but regardless, it will be fine. It will work out. And then that action of it working out and not being nearly as scary as you thought it would be is then going to help you reinforce that initial change that you're making of public speaking doesn't have to be so scary. I'm okay speaking up. I am confident, right? It's all a cycle that you're taking yourself through. And so, when you are able to get yourself into a place of being more positive, we'll call it that, when you can get yourself to a place where you are talking to yourself with self belief, with confidence, with kindness, that fundamentally is going to change how you are talking to others. It's going to lead to more empathy, to more compassion, to more understanding, to better listening. And so when you're aspiring for these leadership positions, or if you're someone who's in a new leadership position and you've never done this before, these are the small things that make the biggest difference. Because you can tell someone what to do, but the way that you tell them will determine whether or not they do it or how effectively they do it. Okay? Like if you're my coworker, or if I've been promoted and now I need to lead you and I tell you, "Hey, go do go do this project by Friday." The way that I say it is going to make you go, ugh. And it's not going to make you have, a positive leadership reputation. And that leads to so many other outcomes, right? Communication, it's like that glue. You can also think of it as like a spider web, like ripple effects throughout your life. And if you can envision a spider web, right? The spider, or sort of there's like the middle, and then it kind of goes out, and then the spider hides in the corner waiting for the prey. And it's all beautifully interconnected and woven together. And if you break a little piece, all of it will start to fall. Your communication is the same way. Okay. Your communication really, really impacts the way that you think about and interact with and talk to everybody else in your life. So, when you can change the way that you think, it will change the way that you speak, which will change the way that you communicate with others. Okay. That is the message for today. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. If you're watching the replay, hi. Let me know if you have any questions after the fact. I'm happy to answer them, and just let this simmer, right? It's Friday. You've got the weekend. Rewatch this if you need to and just let it simmer and really think about what I said. The cycle that you're taking yourself through on a daily basis. What's yours like? Okay. Send me a DM if you need any help with this. I'm happy to chat. And I hope all of you have a happy Friday and a beautiful weekend. Okay. Take care.